Leo Tolstoy's Anna Karenina, Part 6, in which all our protagonists find the thin veneer of tranquility in their lives, tested by family and friends, with farcical and tragic consequences. Chapter 18. Anna looked at Dolly's thin, worn face with dust caught in its wrinkles, and was about to say what she was thinking, namely that Dolly had grown thinner, but remembering that she herself had become prettier, and that Dolly's eyes told her so, she sighed and began talking about herself. "You look at me," she said, "and think, can she be happy in her situation? Well, and what? It's embarrassing to admit it, but I'm unforgivably happy. Something magical has happened to me, like a dream, when you feel frightened, creepy, and suddenly wake up and feel that all those fears are gone. I woke up. I lived through the torment and fear, and for a long time now, especially since we came here, I've been so happy," she said, looking at Dolly with a timid, questioning smile. "How glad I am," Dolly said with a smile, involuntarily speaking more coldly than she meant to. "I'm very glad for you. Why didn't you write to me?" "Why? Because I didn't dare. You forget my situation." "To me? You didn't dare? If you knew how I consider." Darya Alexandrovna wanted to tell Anna about her thoughts from that morning, but for some reason the moment seemed inappropriate to her. "Anyhow, of that later. What are all these buildings?" she asked, wishing to change the subject and pointing to the red and green roofs visible through the green quickset hedge of acacia and lilac. "Just like a little town." But Anna did not reply. No. What's your opinion of my situation? What do you think?" she asked. "I suppose," Darya Alexandrovna began, but just then Vasenka Veslovsky, who had got the cob going on the right leg, galloped past them in his short jacket, bouncing heavily against the suede of the side saddle. "He's caught on, Anna Arkadyevna," he shouted. Anna did not even look at him, but again it seemed awkward to Darya Alexandrovna to start this long conversation in the carriage, and so she abridged her thought. "I have no opinion," she said, "but I've always loved you, and when you love someone you love the whole person, as they are, and not as you'd like them to be." Anna turned her glance from her friend's face, and, narrowing her eyes, this was a new habit that Dolly had not known in her, pondered, wishing to fully understand the meaning of those words. Then, evidently having understood them as she wanted, she looked at Dolly. "If you have any sins," she said, "they should all be forgiven you for your coming, and for those words." And Dolly saw tears come to Anna's eyes. She silently pressed her hand. "So what are these buildings? There are so many of them," she repeated her question after a moment's silence. "Those are the employees' houses, the stud farm, the stables," replied Anna. "And here the park begins. It had all run to seed, but Alexei has renovated everything. He loves this estate very much, and something I never expected, he's passionately interested in managing it. But then his is such a rich nature. Whatever he does splendidly. He is not only not bored, but he takes it up passionately. Besides, All I've known of him, he's become a shrewd and excellent manager. He's even stingy in his management, but only then. Where it's a matter of tens of thousands, he doesn't count, she said with that joyfully sly smile with which women often speak of the secret qualities of a beloved man, revealed only to them. You see that big building? It's a new hospital. I think it'll cost more than 100,000. It's his dada now. And do you know what it came from? It seems the Mujiks asked him to lower the rent for some meadows, but he refused, and I reproached him for stinginess. Of course, it wasn't just from that, but from everything together. He began in this hospital, you see, in order to show that he wasn't stingy. C'est un petit, if you like. But I love him the more for it. And now you'll see the house. It's an ancestral house, and nothing on the outside has been altered. How fine, said Dolly, gazing with involuntary astonishment at the beautiful house with its columns emerging from amidst the varied greens of the old trees in the garden. Isn't it? And the view from the house, from upstairs, is wonderful. They drove into a courtyard covered with gravel and adorned with flowers, where two workmen were placing uncut porous stones around a freshly turned flower bed, and stopped under a covered portico. Ah, they're here already, said Anna, looking at the saddle horses which were just being led away from the porch. Isn't that a fine horse? He's a cob, my favorite. Bring him here and get me some sugar. Where's the Count? She asked of the two liveried footmen who came running out. Ah, here he is, she said, seeing Vronsky and Veslovsky coming to meet them. Where will you put the princess? Vronsky said in French, addressing Anna, and without waiting for an answer he greeted Darya Alexandrovna again, this time kissing her hand. In the big bedroom with the balcony, I assume. Oh no, it's too far away. Better in the corner room. We'll see more of each other. Well, come along, said Anna, giving her favorite horse the sugar that the footman had brought her. Êtes-vous oublié votre devoir? She said to Veslovsky, who also came out to the porch. Pardon, je n'ai toute pleine les poches, he said, smiling and putting his fingers into his waistcoat pocket. Mais vous venez trop plate, she said, wiping with a handkerchief the hand that the horse had wetted as he took the sugar. Anna turned to Dolly. How long will you stay? 1 day? That's impossible. That's what I promised. And the children, said Dolly, feeling embarrassed both because she had to take her handbag from the carriage and because she knew that her face must be quite covered with dust. No, Dolly, darling. Well, we'll see. Come along, and Anna took Dolly to her room. This room was not the fancy one Vronsky had suggested, but one for which Anna said that Dolly must excuse her, and this room for which excuses were offered was filled with such luxury as Dolly had never lived in, and reminded her of the best hotels abroad. Well, darling, how happy I am, said Anna, sitting down in her riding habit for a moment beside Dolly. Tell me about your family. I saw Stiva in passing, but he can't talk about the children. How's my favorite, Tanya? A big girl, I suppose? Yes, very big, Darya Alexandrovna replied curtly, surprised at herself for answering so coldly about her children. We're having a wonderful stay with the Levines. If only I'd known you don't despise me, said Anna. You could all come to stay with us. Steve is an old and great friend of Alexei's, she added and suddenly blushed. Yes, but we're so nicely, Dolly replied, embarrassed. Yes, anyhow, I'm talking foolishly from joy. One thing, darling, is that I'm so glad you've come, Anna said, kissing her again. You haven't told me yet how and what you think of me, and I want to know everything. But I'm glad you'll see me as I am. Above all, I wouldn't want people to think that I want to prove anything. I don't want to myself. I simply want to live, to cause no evil to anyone. I have that right, haven't I? However, that's a long conversation, and we'll still have a good talk about it all. Now I'll go and dress, and I'll send you a maid. If you enjoy this format, please leave a like and subscribe and return tomorrow for the next chapter.